I looked up the trivia for this film on IMDb.
Yeah, is it
It's
funny?
literally the most boring thing
Yeah.
I've ever read in my life.
Nice.
Cool. Hello and welcome to I Hate Your Movie. This is a movie podcast where me and Dan
Whoa.
inflict movies upon each other for entertainment purposes. This week we watched Aftersun, which is a 2022 film starring Paul Mescal and Frankie Carrillo. I think I'm saying that right. It's about a young dad who takes his daughter on holiday. There's a lot more to it than that, I think. Some people don't, because when I looked up the trivia for this, it was the most boring thing in the world. So then I got bored of that. I started reading the lower reviews.
Okay.
I went to the 1-star
Oh
reviews.
my god. I bet there were some gems in there. When there's like a good film, and it's kind of...
You said good film.
I know, I said it. When it's like a good film and it's somewhat polarizing, oh my god, the bad reviews are hilarious sometimes.
An overhyped crock of shit, pushed into mainstream film by TikTok girlies who want to ride Paul Mescal.
So boring, and I still have no idea what the plot is about.
Normalize films having a plot again.
Just a depressed single dad with his kid on a vacation. Like, okay? Could have been a YouTube video.
You could make a drinking game where you would die, and if you read the first 10 reviews, 1-star reviews, and drank every time you read the words "nothing happens,"
Yeah.
then you would be dead before you reached the end of the list.
Imagine what it feels like to be in a sensory deprivation tank. That's what this movie is. If it were a drink, it would be water. If it were a food, it would be boiled water with salt in it.
So it is a very, subtle, tells a story, show don't tell kind of thing, would you say?
I'm waiting for my one sentence
You have
review.
to say yes. You can't nod on a podcast.
I'm waiting for my moment to shine.
Okay. Let's do your itching to give us your 1-sentence review.
I think this movie is visual storytelling perfection.
Yeah.
Just absolute perfection. This is the best movie you recommended to me.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I genuinely just got goosebumps. All my hair stood up on end. Oh my word.
Oh my god. It was so good. Yeah, all those negative reviews when it's nothing happens. Nothing happens in a traditional sort of way, but at the same time a lot happens within the characters and within the subtext of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't usually like slice of life movies.
Me neither.
This one was very special though. The way it was told is excellent. There's no exposition. There's no, do you know your brother Tommy who's an alcoholic? Well, he's back in town. None of that shit. And you all put it together in your head and it's that's what I want in most movies. I love movies, like puzzles kind of.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. I'm not sure I would go with puzzle. You interpret it.
Yeah.
So a puzzle gives you a definitive outcome. And that's,
Yeah.
and that's, I don't feel that's what this is. I feel it's more kind of you take what you want from it. So I went to see this film in the cinema because it had such good reviews all around. And I don't usually trust the kind of what do you call them? The reef.
The fancy schmancy ones.
The fancy schmancy ones with...
Like a Laurel.
Yeah, like a Laurel kind of films that's film festival this, film festival that.
Yeah.
I don't usually trust it.
Instant classic.
Yeah.
I hate that one specifically. That's a paradox. Nothing is an instant classic.
It's like new and improved. Nothing can be both new and improved.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I went to see this film and I didn't think I'd like it. And I think for the first, I think this film's about an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about the first hour, I didn't really get it. I didn't really know what was going on. And then got the last half hour and the film itself I enjoyed it. And then in the last 5 minutes of the film, I remembered this holiday I went on when I was a kid with my dad, who was a single dad at the time. And I remembered it, and all of the emotions that the kid felt and the dad felt in this film, it just really hit home. And for some reason or other, I just never saw it again.
Mm-hmm. Well, you see, this is where we differ because I loved it from minute one.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this is amazing. It's weird. It seemed like you were bored by it, almost that you would be on your phone, and then it clicked with you.
Yeah.
And I just don't get that. I'm like, this is amazing.
We'll get into it in a bit, but I was really worried that because my memory of this film is kind of the mental health problems that the dad has, and doesn't really show for like the first probably 2/3 of the film.
I don't know about that. I think it does in a very, very subtle ways.
Yeah, looking at it again and kind of knowing where it's going to end, I think that's accurate.
That's why I was like a bit puzzle-ish. You see like books of Tai Chi. I think that's pretty much the first thing you see on his desk. And I'm like, okay, what does that say? And then at the same time he goes into, he's like, oh, he was like a troubled child. You kind of just bounce that two ideas together and you start to form a personality from it.
Okay. There's one particular scene we're going to get to when we get to it. I'm really interested in your thoughts. I think it's one of the only times during this film I saw you write some notes.
Okay.
And you seemed very excited about writing notes. And at the time I was like, oh God.
I don't remember. Can we talk about something that's kind of tangential?
Okay.
That really bugs me.
Right.
A British idea of a holiday is awful. It's awful. Why would you go to a foreign country just to hang around in a fucking hotel?
They go out and about. They go to restaurants and stuff. They go to places.
Yeah, kind of.
I did see. This is exactly what it reminds me of. When I think of that holiday I went on with my dad, it just looks exactly the same as that. It's got kind of like your Butlins vibe. You know, that kind of, you could be doing this in Weymouth, but you're not. You're actually in Tenerife.
Yeah.
When I went, I was in the Algarve in Portugal.
Okay.
Even like a bit in this, there's a bar in the film. It's Cadillac Bar. And that's one of the like most vivid memories I have of that holiday, is we went to this bar and they had this, in my head, it was a real Cadillac. It could have been cardboard cutout because I mean, I went when I was like 7 or 8. It's probably one of the youngest really solid memories that I have. And it's exactly the same. You had like the sitting on the balcony overlooking all of the local area with the shitty kind of singer singing like British classics.
Yeah, my holidays were quite different, but somehow it still gave that childhood holiday feeling over. You know, mine were Lake Balaton usually. For me, the things that were familiar was like kind of being bored, reading books all the time, which was I was criticized for. Why am I reading a book on a holiday?
Does she read books in this? Oh,
yeah.
Does she?
Yeah, she does, yeah. She's trying to get through like a really adult book, I think.
Oh, she does, yes. I do remember
A
now.
really thick one, and I was the same. Yeah, it's just little things like that. The 90s, obviously, the 90s, terrible music. The Macarena that was blaring. I'm pretty sure Macarena was blaring anywhere you went in the 90s, you know.
Yeah.
I kind of connected with that too.
Yeah, even like little things, like they do a dine and dash in the film. We never did anything like that, but I remember the apartment we were staying in, there across the street, there was, I think it was someone's house, and they had lemon trees and orange trees out the front. And I remember my dad sent me to go into this person's front yard and steal a bunch of fruit from the tree, and I just put it all in my shirt and ran back up to the flat, and we all sat there and had orange juice.
Oh my god, you are the little girl from this one.
I know, right? Cool. So this film is funded by everyone.
Yeah, as you would with this film. There's probably like 15 different little studios that come up.
We've always said that's a mark of a good film, because it's someone's passion project that they've really, really tried to get funding for, and they've gone and they've begged as many people as they could to get as much funding as they could.
Yeah.
So it's always the mark of a good film.
It is, yeah.
Like, I don't actually know what the budget of this film is. Should we ask the producer?
They do buy that expensive rug that cost a quintillion Turkish liras or whatever. So maybe inflated the budget.
So as far as the producer's telling me, this film was made for 350,000.
I can see it. If Paul Mescal, who's just a guy I never heard before, I think he's just one of those guys who, like, if you think back, like Chris Pratt, he just comes from nowhere and he's all of a sudden in all the films. I think he's gonna be one of those guys.
Yeah.
If he took a pay cut.
Well, this film actually earned him an Oscar nomination.
I
think I read an interview with him and his sister, and they were like, it's mad. Like, yesterday we were driving down to the co-op to buy bread that we could barely afford or something like that. And it's like, oh, now we're at the Oscars party. I don't think you'd be big enough to take a pay cut. I think it's just any kind of work.
Well, yeah.
at that point in his career.
90% of the budget was still that rug. It was a quadrillion Turkish liras. How much is that in pounds? 2?
Still can't afford it.
Yeah. We put on the subtitles for this movie.
Did we?
Well, I asked for it.
Okay. I find subtitles really distracting, by the way.
Yeah, sorry.
I never watch the film. I just read the subtitles. That's
Sorry.
all I can do when subtitles are on.
I had trouble with the accent a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I could have done it, but I had to really concentrate. And I was like, I don't think this movie should be enjoyed like that. Like you're on a math test. You know, you're sweating and like, oh my God, what did they just say? And the girl was a bit of a marble mouth.
Marble mouth.
Yeah, you don't know the expression.
No. Like a mouthful of marbles. Like,
Yeah. Well, yeah.
To be fair, the dialogue of this film needs understanding.
Yeah.
So there's so much you pick up on what's said and what's not said that if you didn't understand certain parts of the dialogue, then you...
I would have been lost for sure.
So you say from the start of this film, you thought it was brilliant?
Yeah.
So the very start of this film is Paul Mescal's character, but younger, and he's in like a club. The lights are flashing.
That was the surrealist, overarching visual of this movie, is that it looks like a club, but everyone's just kind of stressed out and looking for other people. And there's like strobe lights going
It's
on.
like dancing all around him. Everybody else seems to be having a good time.
Do you
right?
think so? It was kind of hard to see, to be fair.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because
it's
it's-
incredibly difficult to make out what's going on.
because of the strobe light. I got the feeling that it was some people who are having fun like together and some people who are like looking for other people.
Okay.
That's what my interpretation was. Yeah, I loved it. Although that was the most confusing thing. At the end, it all tied together to me.
The very start of this film is you see him standing there in this dance floor type thing. We just still don't know where it is. And you can hear a baby crying.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what like makes me like definitely think that he was younger in some parts.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's him at the club, he meets a girl, they accidentally have a baby. That's why he's in the situation he is now.
Yeah.
So you very quickly tell, without any words being spoken, you know exactly what's happened to him,
Mm-hmm.
which is just...
Amazing. And I'm not gonna have a lot of negative things to say about this movie. Maybe none. I'm thinking the title might be too stupid.
What's that?
Well, I don't know. I just don't get it.
Well, Aftersun.
Yeah. Why is that the title?
The takeaway from the film is what happens to the girl after they finish the holiday. So they go on this sunny holiday. She goes home and then it's Aftersun. But
Okay. You're talking me into it.
that's how I interpret it anyway. If I was really stretching the metaphor,
Mhm.
you could go with that. It kind of is like it's a burn and it hurts.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a whole new dimension I haven't considered before.
It's a really slow start.
Yeah.
I think there's like a solid 2-3 minutes of the camera just sat there while someone's sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
And I was racking my brain, like, because as you know, for most of these films we watch that have these slow bits in them, I'm like, oh God, do something. You know, I think back to Suspiria, where there were loads of scenes in that where nothing happens at all, and I was just bored out of my mind, and it was not the case for this film, and I don't really know why.
I was thinking of Suspiria too,
Okay,
but positively.
okay. If I was going to go positive, I would go Monster Calls.
Okay.
That dialogue where so much is happening that's unsaid.
Mm.
It's like absolutely masterfully wrote dialogue.
I was thinking Suspiria, and I think it relates to why you like this and why you're okay with the slowness.
Mhm.
There's a lot of visual storytelling. It's called vignettes, when you just see like objects around the room. And Suspiria did that a lot. Your favorite film. If you want to soak in a character or a mood or a setting even, see like images of a book, chair.
Yes, I do remember that in Suspiria because it was gibberish.
But this movie did it too.
But it made sense.
Yeah.
To me. anyway.
Well, yeah.
The best example I have from the very start of the film, that tells you again so much about everybody involved, is the phone call he makes to the front desk. And he's like, oh, we booked a room with 2 separate beds. Can you sort that out?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no worries. Tried your best. Bye. And it tells you everything. It tells you, A, he hasn't got the money to get 2 rooms. It tells you about his personality, in that he's kind of a little bit of a pushover. And the same, like, they go outside and the hotel's under construction. He's clearly got it on this, like, budget deal. You know, just that little, like, that in the background, that dun, 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 dun. That's all you need to know.
Yeah. For me, why also the slowness worked. Blocking and business.
I have no idea what that means.
Blocking is the framing of a picture, like we're talking here, and like how do you shoot that? You know, me over the shoulder, you over the shoulder. Sometimes that's the one. And business is what you do while you talk. You know, if this was a film, I would have us things to do. I would have me drink. I would have me do something because this is just boring to watch.
Live show coming soon.
And I think it was done to like perfection, and it was unconventional because sometimes you see someone's back, like in not even the full back, and they're just breathing. But it takes a lot of courage to just go with that, and it's also like a vision. Maybe it's something that you might not understand removed from the film, but you understand in context of the film. So it's all these things working together, I think.
So what we haven't mentioned so far as well, and it's a film genre I don't particularly enjoy, but it's kind of embedded into this film as well, is kind of like the coming of age story. I despise coming of age stories for the most part. They're always filled with these massive revelations of people becoming adults that...
Yeah, which never happened.
Yeah. This is kind of like really subtle the way it goes through it. Nothing's like, oh my God, this happened. But so many life-changing events happen to Sophie during this holiday that it really kind of shows two completely different sides to the story. Like Paul Mescal's character, Callum, in this film is having this really kind of dark experience, and she's having this really kind of memories for life kind of holiday. And those two put against each other.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can see the coming of age story.
No?
But maybe because it is a cliche that something life-changing has to happen.
I think like she goes on this journey, so if you go through the film start to finish with just her scenes, I think she has a magazine about like boys, or an adult magazine she's reading, and the dad walks into the room and she puts it away very quickly, so she doesn't know what exactly she's feeling. She doesn't know if it's okay to feel these feelings. There's a scene where she's like in the bathroom and she's listening to girls outside. I thought this was a really clever visual thing because the girls in the bathroom are talking about giving handjobs.
Yeah.
And the next scene, she is on the arcade bike.
Yeah.
And the focus is on her handlebar. It's not for you to think that she thinks that. It's for you to think that she's trying to figure out what they meant.
I like that scene because that scene introduces me. I'm in this movie. I don't know how they found me in the 90s and filmed me and then released me in 2022, but yeah, I'm in this one.
Yeah?
I didn't get to kiss girls when I was 12, and that was the most unrealistic part of this film. Just little, fat, schlubby, annoying boys. They don't get to kiss girls in the 90s. Calling bullshit on that. But yeah, that kid looked exactly like me except the haircut.
Yeah?
Yeah, like exactly.
And then she has her first kiss of her life. That's a kind of a coming of age thing.
You're right. Is the changes are not giant. Also, this is an overall note I had. My writer brain was very busy.
Okay.
Meaning that I was kept looking for melodrama to happen. I kept looking for, you're not my real dad. You know? Whatever. I was just trying to find the drama, the Hollywood drama bullshit, and it never happened. And it was great. I loved it.
I think on the second watching of this film, there's a lot of scenes in the start of this film that take on like a completely different meaning, or in some ways I remembered them just completely different to how they were, because of how I interpreted the first time to the second time after seeing the ending. Like there's a scene early on in the film where he phones the mum.
Yes.
And I remember first time watching that film as taking away from that as he's still in love with the mum, but they broke up for some reason. Because they say,
I love you.
They say, I love you to her, and she questions that, and Sophie questions that later. But watching it this time, do you remember like the topic of the conversation? He's congratulating her for something.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, oh no, congratulations, I'm really happy for you. So clearly like the ex has got engaged, or she's pregnant again, or that begins his downward spiral.
Mm-hmm.
She's moving on, the kid lives so far away, and now he feels like he's being pushed out a little bit.
You described to me a lot of things that I haven't even considered.
again, at first watched, it meant nothing to me. But I very much recommend you watch this film again at some point.
Yeah, but it's weird because I was like, I never want to watch this again, even though I loved it. It was like, it's one of those, you know.
Yeah.
But then now that you're kind of convincing me to watch it again. I wrote down weird undertones of who knows what.
Okay.
Because I felt like there's some weird ambience to this movie. It could turn into like horror, you know?
Okay. You don't mean like sound?
No, I mean like feels, atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the dad's mysterious doings at the beginning and like how it lingers on shots. It totally could be like a horror film.
One of the early shots that sticks with me the most is the one where, like, I think Sophie's sleeping and he's dancing on the balcony.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's in the trailer quite a lot as well. It's not a particularly interesting thing for the trailer to have, but I don't know what you would make a trailer with. I think that speaks volumes to kind of him wanting to be young and out and pie in with the youngsters.
Do you not know my joke title for this movie?
Do I want to know your Yes, I do. Absolutely.
Rise of the Foot Soldier 9, Turkey in the 90s in it.
Potatoes shows up.
Yeah. Biggest insult to this movie by certain points. It did remind me of Rise of the Foot Soldier. Just because it's British 90s and then foreign country.
I love that earlier we were like, oh, you can interpret this film in many ways, you know. You can interpret it as a monster calls, as Suspiria and Rise of the Foot Soldier, Marbella. There's just so much you can take from it, you know.
Yeah. To be fair, in Rise of the Foot Soldier, when they were driving for no reason, that was like the same kind of tantric, weird, hypnotizing filmmaking as this. By the way, if you want to know what the hell are we talking about, we recorded a listener-suggested episode on Rise of the Foot Soldier for Marbella, which is a terrible, terrible quote-unquote action movie. I would argue it's more like a soap opera for men over 50. It was hilarious. The episode is hilarious. You can listen to this bonus episode and other bonus episodes every month on Patreon. Patreon.com/IHateYourMovie. You can join $1 or £1 a month and be part of a great community. Thank you very much.
Did you catch early on that Callum was struggling at all?
Yes.
Yeah?
Straight from the start.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it that it wasn't bad dad. It was okay dad or bad dad who's trying. Maybe that was part of it. I think that I noticed is that he's trying way too hard sometimes. And it felt like he's trying to right the wrongs of his childhood. Teaching Sophie how to self-defend.
Mm-hmm.
Teaching do drugs but tell me and do it safely. Things like that, you know?
Yeah. For me, it was more his just slowly revealing that he's just a bit of a failure.
Yeah.
Overall. So, like, obviously he's broken up with his ex. They're moving on. They're doing a really good thing. And then Sophie asks him about his girlfriend Claire and the cafe they're going to open together.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, no, me and Claire broke up. The cafe's not going to happen. But, yeah, me and my friend Dodgy Steve have got a deal coming up that's going to work out. You can tell in how perfect it's acted that even he doesn't believe.
Yeah.
But he's clearly just lying to make himself sound more stable.
The idea I got is that he's kind of struggling with his upbringing, kind of dodgy upbringing, with like dodgy people, and then trying to start a new life, but it's really hard. In between, he has kind of depression.
Yeah.
He gets pulled in from his old life, sell drugs or something, or doing dodgy business. He's trying to leave that behind, but he doesn't have many opportunities.
There's a scene, he's just talking to some random scuba instructor, and they were talking about, like, I think a few times in this film, people mistake his daughter for his sister, and they think they're brother and sister somehow. He's talking to him, and he's like, oh, I'm going to be 30. It's all around his birthday as well, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
He says to the scuba instructor, I can't see me making 40, to be honest. And then that's like a real kind of like red flag, because I think that's about halfway through the film when you really start to see, really shows his kind of mental state.
Yeah. Can we talk about Chumbawamba?
Yeah, let's lift it up. Let's lift it up for a minute.
What's those kind of now, CD that says now Now
that's what I call music.
Now that's what I call music. This is like the now that's what I call music 95 edition.
Yes, it is.
All the 90s hits that you love. Chumbawamba.
Chumbawamba.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
The Macarena.
The Macarena.
That's not even a song, that's a phenomenon.
REM, Losing My Religion.
Oh my god, yeah.
I thought that I heard you laughing. I thought that I heard you sing.
Do you know that actually that's taken straight out of the writer-director's childhood? They remember it being like the only song they knew all the words to, and they had to really fight to get the song as part of the film.
Yeah?
Yeah. That was in the trivia. That was the one bit of trivia that was interesting. And the music guy was like, "Oh, can we find another song?" And she was like, "No, the lyrics for this song are just so perfect. I won't do anything else."
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
She said that for Chumbawamba as well.
Well, we want to make a film where people get knocked down, but then they get up again. And no one's ever going to keep them down.
That's the true themes of this movie. And the Macarena.
And the Macarena.
The Macarena is more a visual.
Now the guys begin to practice the Macarena, forgetting that this is an audio podcast. So enjoy listening to that without any context clues.
It's like you unwrap your emotions.
That's exactly
I know 5% of the Macarena.
Well, that's a good. I was thinking, do you think you'd still be able to do the Macarena now?
I remember the starts
Forwards.
Oh,
Forwards,
lift it up.
Forwards right, forwards left, flip right.
Yeah,
flip
it's
left.
coming back to me, and then that.
That I thought was shoulders first.
Maybe shoulders first. No, that doesn't feel smooth.
Okay. It doesn't feel smooth.
Yes, it does. Back of the head,
Do you go left, the right, then left again?
left, right.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
Oh my god, this is like it's all coming back. It's good that world forgot the Macarena.
Well, clearly it hasn't. Clearly it's just in the back of our minds like some Cold War sleeper agent shit. But yeah, soundtrack, phenomenal.
Well,
For us.
for us.
If you're of a certain age.
I was like,
that
what
is-
the
that's-
fuck?
And, I mean, I don't know if to talk about it now or the end, but while we're talking about the soundtrack, Under Pressure by
Yeah.
Queen. One of the reviews I read for this film is you will never hear Under Pressure by Queen and David Bowie the same way ever again once you've seen this film. The lyrics just completely stand out as something completely different to what I thought they were and what I thought they meant. And, you know, maybe how they were intentionally done, I don't know. But I think having the subtitles on for the very end of this film, for the lyrics of this song, blew my mind.
Yeah.
And I think I've listened to that song several hundred times since.
I didn't have that reaction.
No?
Maybe I missed something. But I did like it. There was the music was removed from it, right? And it
Some
was
bits, yeah.
and it was just singing.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just the vocals. It was interesting.
One of the final lines of the song is, "And love dares you to change the way of caring about ourselves," which, given what Callum is going through at that point, just really kind of hit me.
What did you think of the sombre music?
The sombre music.
You don't remember that?
No. Do you mean somber?
Yeah. Can you stop pretending that you know that that's how that's spelled? Because I didn't know as a writer. And I'm pretty sure I wrote it wrong like for 10 years in my books. Yay. Sombre music.
Sounds kind of like mariachi music.
Yeah.
I missed that bit of the film. Talk to me about a carpet.
Oh my god. There's not enough zeros in the universe that you have to put on that lira. Callum goes, how much is it? And the guy goes, a bajillion.
I think it was like 85,000.
No, it says for something million.
It does not say
He
something
says
million.
something million.
You reckon?
Yep.
I'm inclined to take your word for it.
He says something million. I'm exaggerating gajillion and bazillion and quadrillion, but it was a million for sure. How are you gonna Google this?
Well, I've got a great deal on carpets from John Lewis. Do you remember how much it was in pounds?
Something 80 something?
850.
Okay, still a lot.
Yeah. Which Callum clearly cannot afford,
No, he still buys it.
but he still buys it.
What an asshole. That's the thing, is you watch this movie, like, half the time we're an asshole, half the time it's like, oh, that's sad.
I think he just wanted something nice for himself.
Yeah.
You know, it speaks to kind of the mentality of people who don't have a lot of money. I remember when I was at my absolute like poorest, I was living in basically a cupboard. I had to take the headboard off my bed because my bed didn't fit left to right in the room it was in.
Harry Potter.
Pretty much. I was working like 2 jobs and I'd lost one of them. And I remember saving up for like a few weeks and I bought myself some cheese. I was so happy that I got my cheese. And it like cost me like, I didn't eat for like the day before.
Yeah.
Because I was saving up the money to buy this cheese.
Oh my god.
Yeah. But there were still times in there that I kind of, you know, I got a new phone or, you know, I bought an Xbox because sometimes you just want something nice, even though you can't really afford it. Do you want to hear the end of the story?
Yeah.
My flatmate ate my cheese.
Fuck. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I hope he kicked his ass. You are Harry Potter and Wallace and Gromit in one person. Cheese and cupboard.
Here's something that I found quite jarring on first watch.
Yeah.
I accepted it more on the second watch because I understood it more and I was expecting it. What did you think of like the flash forward scenes?
I think that was necessary.
Yeah.
Totally. At first I was unsure. I think the reason for that is, and it comes back with the strobe light party thing as well. I think the whole movie is Sophie as an adult remembering back on this holiday now that she is a child, kind of re-evaluating what his dad has gone through.
Yep.
And kind of thinking back on his mistakes and trying to learn from it. So I think it made perfect sense. And the whole movie was through her eyes as a kid, evaluating her dad, thinking about her dad, and then it got another layer because she's now an adult thinking back on it.
Do you think the film plays out, because at least I know you got it really early on, but from my perspective, it's kind of, it starts out as this like fun family holiday within these 2 people.
Oh my god, no.
And then it gets darker and darker as it goes through.
It definitely goes darker.
Yeah. Do you think that's her memory? If she remembers the holiday and she starts remembering it as kind of like being a kid and being in the sun and swimming and all the fun stuff, and then the more she thinks back, the more she realizes actually there was a problem there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Also, maybe the way you can interpret it is that she more and more relates to his dad. Maybe not relates, but understands him, what he's gone through. And more dark shit happens. Like the worst one is when she just hangs around with the teenagers and then he's just a no-show.
Yeah.
That was the worst one.
So they're having a pretty good holiday, but then she signs them up for karaoke.
Yeah.
It's something they've done for years and years. And he says he doesn't want to do it.
Yeah.
And she stands on stage and sings Losing My Religion by R.E.M. By the way, the actress who played Sophie hates that song.
Yeah.
She refused to rehearse it.
Well, I don't want to say it shows, but it shows.
The writer-director of this film kind of like sang it to her just to try and get her a little bit into it. And I guess to make the karaoke scene more like karaoke.
It worked as a realistic, terrible karaoke scene.
So yeah, the dad leaves her hanging. He's on stage and she keeps waving him over. And then they have like an argument. And this is a really important part of the film as well, because the dad's a bit of a dick. He's like, we can get you singing lessons if you want.
Yeah, I think that was that part of him that's trying to be too helpful.
Yeah.
You know, he's pushing her to do stuff so that she's more prepared for life, and that's part of it, I think.
But then she basically slaps him in the face and says, stop doing that. Stop offering to pay for things. I know you can't afford it. Ugh. Yeah. And he says, all right, I'm gonna go to bed. And she's like, I'm staying down here. So that's how they get separated.
Yeah.
And you see him walking down the street and he picks up like cigarette butts off the floor and smokes them because he can't afford his own.
Yeah.
I think that's when she goes to meet you.
Yeah, to meet the fat little boy. I wrote down a note, they kiss. It's a hilarious scene, by the way. He goes like, I like you. Do you like me? Yeah, I like you. Kiss. It's like, it was so boring. But I guess I was a late bloomer, so I didn't really experience preteen love. But I guess it's realistic. Kind of awkwardly filmed. They tried to make it work with the angles that they look like they kiss. It didn't really work, but whatever. This is the most nitpicky thing I can say about this scene.
So she goes back to the room and he's not there.
Yeah.
So she falls asleep in the lobby, and then eventually she gets woken up.
That's when I really thought it's gonna take a turn.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be like Hollywood. This is where the story is gonna happen.
Okay.
Because he dresses down and goes into the ocean or the sea.
Brilliantly shot, by the way.
Yeah.
It's night, and you can just see the beach. The beach takes up half the screen, and then just black.
It's darkness. Yeah.
You can see waves crashing.
Yeah.
And you see him walk into the sea.
I was so convinced he's gonna kill himself.
Yeah.
That's the Hollywood thing to do, because that's what that suggests.
Yeah.
But no, that's when a big change in Sophie happens. She comes back and his dad is like naked and like pathetic on the bed, not even looking for her. That's the worst it gets.
Let's get to my bit I was most excited for your opinion on. So there's a scene in this film where Callum is talking to Sophie, and he's talking about his parents forgot his 11th birthday.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is shot through the reflection of a TV.
Oh my god, that's so good. I think that's what I wrote down, the staging and the framing.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Because you got the books next to it, the Tai Chi and How to Meditate.
Yeah, incredible. That's one of the best kind of shots.
Yeah.
It serves the story, it serves the characters, and it's not show-offy, and it's confident, but it's just gonna show that, and it's fine. You know, it don't need to be any flares or anything. Yeah, it's just incredible.
I saw you excitedly write down notes, which means either you really like something or you found a really funny way to trash it.
It's the first one.
Good.
There's loads of scenes like that where, for the layman, for the uneducated, for the regular movie goer being shown a bunch of books and a reflection of a terrible TV, that looks terrible. If you like really being objective and everything, yeah, that looks terrible. But it's not about that. Filmmaking is not a mathematical equation on the best ways to show something. It is more like a personal experience.
So it's his birthday,
Yeah.
and she gets everyone to sing happy birthday to him.
Was there Happy Birthday?
It wasn't. They could afford REM's Losing My Religion, but they couldn't afford Happy Birthday.
It's weird because for the longest time, if you didn't know, Happy Birthday was under copyright. In the last few years, it was released.
Oh, really?
The copyright is free again, yeah.
Oh, is
You
it?
can sing Happy Birthday.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure in 2022 it was already up.
No, I'm not sure. If that's the case, it's very recently.
Okay.
That was weird. How come we only sang the last two words? What happened to the happy birthday part?
After everybody sings for He's a Jolly Good Fellow to him,
Yeah.
that's the scene where you see him in the room and he's crying. Center's on his back and he's crying.
Yeah.
And that's when you really start to see that he's in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So that takes us pretty nicely to the end. There's two kind of endings to this. There's the ending where the airport, and there's the ending where Sophie, as an adult, is watching the footage back.
Yeah.
They're on their last day of the holiday, Callum and Sophie. They end up at this kind of like bar or a hotel lounge. Queen's playing over the sound system, and he starts dancing to Under Pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when, flash to the older Sophie, that's when the strobe light starts happening. There's a really powerful bit in here as well. And again, you really have to struggle to make out what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
But there's Callum dancing, and he's clearly like off his face. And adult Sophie is shouting at him. She's screaming at him, like really angrily. And that's just her getting all of her anger out. And then he like notices her. And again, he's clearly off his face, and he's just like really happy to see her, and he really cares. And then it cuts to Sophie watching the film, and then the footage ends that they like filmed together. And then it closes the camera, and he walks down the hallway and through the double doors. And just as the double doors swing open, you see the flashing lights.
It's in the strobe light club is when he throws his arms around her. That was, to me, the real ending. And I felt like that's when Sophie, the adult Sophie, really understood her dad.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what that was. It's like, I understand you, I accept you. You're kind of trying your best.
Yeah. I mean, if you Google Aftersun, there are 100 different articles. Aftersun ending explained.
There's always, even if it's really obvious.
I refuse to read any of them because every single one of those would be someone's interpretation of this ending, and I don't want to cloud my judgment with their opinion.
It's just stupid. So the ending.
So the ending. Ending explained.
Aftersun ending explained. What was the strobe light room? Is it an alien room? Is it the aliens are clubbing?
So, anyway.
Am I not helping?
No. Here's my question to you on your interpretation. I have a particular interpretation. By no way are we saying this is the correct interpretation, but my question for you is, does the dad kill himself?
Oh, yeah, I was thinking about that. If she's really concentrating on this holiday, then I think maybe yes.
Mm-hmm. That's what I think as well. My interpretation is that is the last time she saw her dad.
Yeah, makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Let's end this episode on a suicide.
Need some Kool-Aid. Do you want to drink some Kool-Aid with me? You know when there's a famous myth, the Jonestown Massacre?
Okay.
They drank the Kool-Aid. They didn't drink Kool-Aid, they drank a off-brand Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Too cheap to mass suicide themselves properly.
I mean, you'd think, like, if you're going to mass suicide, you'd spring for the good stuff.
Yeah.
Put it on a credit card. Who's going to come after you for the money?
Yeah, that's true, yeah. Why are you buying the off-brand one?
Yeah, you can buy whatever you want.
Yeah.
Go rent a friggin' BMW or go rent a Ferrari to crash into a tree. Who cares?
The problem is, like, they do that, they find, like, a new lease on life. I was like, oh my god, this is great. And they don't.
With some cult, and they go rent a Ferrari, and they
I'm gonna kill myself. Oh my god, this Ferrari is great.
This is awesome, yeah. Let me have a beer. Okay, this is incredible. I want to live.
Yeah. I'm gonna be in a suicide bender for the rest of my life. Anyway, I really love this film.
Good. I'm glad. You liked it more than High Life?
So, here's the controversial thing. Are we going into ratings?
Okay, yeah, we can do ratings.
I've thought long and hard on this.
Yep.
10 out of 10. Yeah.
No way.
I can't find anything wrong. Not that I looked, but I can't. It was just perfect for me, and that's it. It's not gonna be my top 10 favorite movies or anything, but I think it's definitely a 10 out of 10 film. There's no moment where I was bored, even though nothing happens on the screen, technically.
It's interesting you say that, because I would say 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
For kind of the opposite of that reason. I think there are some points in the film that it just lingers a bit too long on, like, someone sleeping. And although I appreciate and I understand and I admire the artistic direction to do things like film things through the TV screen and that kind of stuff,
I think the lingering was just right for me.
And I don't think we've given enough credit to Frankie Corio, who is fantastic in this film. If you take that scene in the TV and put it on them, I think they're good enough to carry that through and make it a little bit more powerful, in my opinion.
Some of it is also the obscuring of faces as well. You know, your mind starts to wonder. This is the kind of stories I like. We had kind of a discussion about this. It was actually Monster Calls.
Okay.
And this could be pitted against Monster Calls. 2 favorite films, which is gonna win. But, like, in a way where I felt like in Monster Calls, all the emotion was told to me. And in this one, it kind of just happened in me.
Okay.
The movie was so subtle and so suggestive. Everything happened in me.
So a combined 19 out of 10.
Yeah.
That has to be the highest we've ever ranked anything.
Yeah.
Between us. It has to be.
Well, yeah, because you always give me shit.
And you always give me shit.
No.
The name of the podcast. Sticking with the format.
I feel like you're down rating me a lot.
No.
I'll just listen to Children of Man. You're like, I was gonna give it 8 out of 10, but there were 2 dialogues that I didn't like, so I give it 6 out of 10.
The dialogue was terrible. It was truly...
You said it just in the beginning.
Truly awful.
You said
like, that is my biggest takeaway from that film, is how dialogue in the first third of the film is just shit.
I was gonna give Amadeus 10 out of 10, but it turns out it didn't actually happen.
Yeah.
Poo.
Bullshit. This is if you want to write a film about 2 classical artists going through a rivalry, just write that film. Don't put a Amadeus sticker on it to get people's interest. It's stupid. Your turn. Got some big shoes to fill? No, that's not the right expression. You've got some,
You got some Aftersun to burn after this burn. So we're gonna watch The Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
All 3 films?
No, there's only one film, and it was terrible, and it was made in the 1970s by animation legend Ralph Bakshi. He was the most successful Disney competitor in the 70s, 80s, and that's it.
I'm actually quite interested about this because you have previously said, I don't know if it was in the show or not, but you have previously said there are parts of this that were better than Peter Jackson's.
Yeah.
Now, I don't see how, but I'm excited to find out.
You will see how in the next episode of I Hate Your Movie. Oh, don't we do this every time? Oh. Credits. I hate your movie.
And on that note, we're going to say goodbye. Thank you for listening, and see you next week.
See you next week. Thank you.
A slow and self-indulgent film which is too lazy to give any answers, leaving the viewer to do the hard work. It felt like a sixth form project from a quirky student who couldn't really be bothered actually pulling a plot together, but got their dialogue from a family holiday before the script had to be in.
If you'd like to watch an hour and a half of home videos of a young father and his 11-year-old daughter on vacation, then this is the film for you. Nothing happens.
Like watching paint dry, only less interesting.
Another disaster. This has truly been the worst year in history for movies.
Constipation would be more enjoyable.
Shifting camera angles, and not much dialogue. Lots to interpret. S, L, O, W. Maybe designed for an angsty teenager to interpret.